Oh, hells to the yeah. I guess I'll hide my hair. "4 months of eruption, extended thermal time lapse." Thermal time lapse. This is the video I was watching. Like, this is from a year ago at Kilauea from Hawaii Pod, courtesy U.S. Geology Survey. So we see the time here, watching the lava flows into what seems to be like a lake, like a region where it's contained, relatively speaking. So we see like shapes start to occur. It looks like it's flowing in over here into this like lake bed type situation. Let's slow it down and did you so like suddenly it fills this region right there? It'll just keep doing it. I noticed things of that nature. It'll probably do it again. Where like the heat just overwhelms that region and like causes a drop in the temperature over there kind of thing going on. Now this like mass chunk is forming, and it's physically creating like a resistance to this current that's causing the current to go around it as this occurs. Like it's physically going generally around it, but then as it continues to go around it, it gets more of like a eddy, like it turns into it, even like producing like a heart here. It's turning into it rather than just going around it. It's turning in, and in so doing, it like begins to physically move it over towards the inlet. Which then really compresses this area and makes it a little more violent, a little more heat there. It looks like it starts to compress this one and more so allow the current to flow over here, and like there's a boundary here where like this side and this side are kind of meeting. Now maybe we're even seeing it start to flow around it in a single rotation. No, it's still kind of going this way. All sorts of features in here. Like every frame could be analyzed closely for every feature. And trends that are like seen large scale also. This is, I'm not completely sure if this is the exact same video I was watching. I think it had a flow over here. This looks more like it. So does it change, or do they change the camera angle? Looks like they changed the camera angle suddenly. Not clear. Or it just starts to like have it, it's filling here. Maybe once it fills here, like the inlet becomes more peaceful, and then there's like a eruption location elsewhere where like this current and this current meet pretty much, like their balance point. Maybe that's what starts to happen, because the inlet's here, which is cool. We got to see it fill from the beginning, because I really thought the inlet when I was watching it was over here. So it's going around this thing, going around, round this thing, round, round, round. but also filling, and it just physically pulled it in to almost backstop it. So it's kind of like gravitate. This is kind of like Mauna Kea versus Mauna Loa for the Big Island, where like a mass formed and the currents like separated it over into one side while the other side remained with the more like still hot material. Hot heat being a lubricant really that'll assist in the movement of particles, because it's just subtle particles that provide like a spacer that allow for like ice, but like in a different way, where it's just heat particles or just subtle ether pretty much that are just allow for reduction in friction. I think that's like a critical aspect of it, of how heat functions. So we're seeing like a general ring here around this object. So maybe this is reflective of how those types of things happen. Like an inlet current feeds into a region, fills it, produces like as it fills it, it stabilizes a mass, like that the currents tend to flow around in a way that it, like once things settle, it still exists as like this chunk here, relatively speaking, but then it pulls it into a position where it forms more of like a circular features maybe around it of this nature. See it bowing out over here, and then as it bows out, it upwells here and just pulls over the side. Now we're really seeing a current that seems to be like generally flowing across here, which is kind of interesting. It's not really wrapping anymore. It's really kind of just going this way, almost like it's going to fill this region, but it doesn't. It just keeps putting like upper layers atop that just like flow through the cracks. And maybe it churns then. Let's say like it runs over here and generally over here. It does look like it's doing that. Like now we've got a rotation going, which is moving this, causing it to bend, to deflect over this way. And now by its deflection, it's really driving this current to focusedly flow here. Oh, right there. I did it again. Just forms this structure almost like a 120-degree bend. Like the current coming in here hits a wall and bends off, and then like this structure forms. And then it collapses because or gets over. It's probably legitimately some structure that's like, even though these lavas are like moving atop it, it's still like forming within the magma, within the flows here. And then, so the inlet comes over this way, and now we've got the nucleus structure here, but now it's moving again. Maybe this is how Gurnar formed. Something more of this nature in like the Sarastra, where the storm is like moving the currents in Sarastra, and at the nucleus it's producing a structure that just gets like shaped and shaped and shaped. Now we just see a nice balance of dimensions, like the width here, just a solid current coming in like this. with like flares. So maybe that's kind of reflective of how like solar flares happen, is like there's a current around a like nucleus type thing involved that creates upwellings at the side. This point's just resonatingly, like, we see the arc, so back to Sarastra. Here, where there's basically a current that comes in this way. In this way, produces a mound over here that then deflects the current around it, where it goes this way, but then it comes along here and meets a current that's generally going this way, and where it meets, it basically produces this like resonance point, very reminiscent of how these currents are flowing. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So I was saying the current, let's go back a little to where it's flowing. It was flowing like this. Yeah, we see it. Here we go. Here we go. We see a good solid rotation of the current around as it builds into here. This focus point over here for some reason. I guess because the current's still coming out across here and wrapping around. It's almost like it's moving to different nodes of this internal thing that's rotating. Like it was energetically bonded to this one, then it physically moved rapidly to this one. As like a point that the current that's kind of colliding here and bouncing out is like propagating focus towards. Looks like it's gonna even turn. It's still focusing towards it. Looks a little out of balance, like it's more over here. Now we're seeing some just like imbalances maybe. It just like divided. The way the energy propagated, one way went like the pink way, way went like the orange red way. That was interesting. Like right after this. After this. I don't know. It's still generally going around. Looks like bigger segments are also forming. Generally features like shallogram like. Ammonite like. This side looks like it's going this way now. Now we got some changes. The current's starting to go the other way now. Oh, now it's really like at a changing point, like it's going both ways. Creating a spiral right there even. Now this is in the imbalance of it all. Like it's moving this mass in the middle. It like physically just moves as it as like the energy level filled up, it moved to block off this side, which then caused it to like focus the energy over here. Now it's coming over to where it's focused, then probably gonna start to do that thing with like the heart type shape again, where there's really like two currents wrapping around it and like pulling it into a like angle that's like more straight on it. Like I knew it was turning it, so that's not like some greatly insightful thing. I'm more curious if it makes the, because I already had looked forward, if it makes like a hard type shape there and like holds it there a bit. It does seem to be generally doing it. Like there's a current going this way across. And then this one looks more like it's like kind of here. So it's flowing underneath of this current going this way from the entrance because it's still coming from an inlet over here that's going over here and then like hitting resistance where it's upwelling from this and even creating an overcurrent atop it going this way as well as just this one to like swirl around this. Okay, let's speed this back up a bit now that we're getting some kind of idea of maybe what we're looking for. I know I was playing at 20.25 percent speed or 0.25 times. It really is kind of angling it like in a maybe a balanced way relative to here. And then it catches in the next notch and that starts to kind of turn it. Catches in this one where it's really not turning from it anymore, so probably also other resistances going on, just holding it. Now it's kind of sitting there. Okay. And now we start seeing this inlet. It bends over, comes out here, and starts kind of going around this mass. And just kind of feeding over here, feeding here. Just these currents overlapping it, going around it. At times physically, like going around it. But at times solidifying. Okay, let's see if anything changes anytime. We do see some angle, like where this is about to change. Maybe it's changing already over here. Because the inlet is still here, so maybe like because this is so close, it's kind of deflecting to here. And to here, like there's a stream coming in, hitting here, deflecting over here, but also deflecting down here. Maybe. And then there's this thing going on, forming between them, like a separator, like the current went this way and this way. And between them, it's bouncing back also even in a way to just form a mass here. It's going around, generally speaking. Okay, let's go all the way up to 1 times. To normal speed. Okay, now we're getting this current really flowing in here more. Less here. It's like definitely moved. And because of this block moving and the inlet current deflecting off of it, it's still generally over here though. Whoa. Now we just see this kind of feature going on where it's got this top half, this middle thing, and then this surrounding lower half. Where the currents flowed, it actually pushed the currents into places where they mounded to produce larger elevational features above where the currents flowed. Still coming off of this point. Still going off that point. Just flowing for days and days and days and days and days. Filling in though. Like back here is solidifying, so it's harder for the current to actually get through again. Oh, it made it through again. It did it. And this is maybe how like the ocean floors were kind of getting currents from like a main opening that flowed through like the Pacific, and then the Atlantic was getting like currents flowing in like this that were just pushing the parts apart because they were able to be pushed apart. Okay, okay. So the inlet's over here, coming over here, and here. One of which is going up above to like an overlayer there, even. Overlayer over here. I'm just thinking like if it's different like planes that the different outlets are feeding at times that are producing like different orbital level kind of energy levels of the electron orbital type things where like each one of these is kind of an electron on some plane of existence. It ends up being of that nature. I don't know. So it looks like we're just gonna keep saying a lot of the same. This feature, notably out around the boundary, just like shallograms. Like there's a more current there, and then the region where it's really flowing, but around the boundaries, it's able to get to the boundaries. Smiley face. And it really is just filling in. This is solidifying more and more as the current just is flowing here and then bouncing off this way. Keeping this space not formed yet because it's got so much current flowing over here, but this side is more so probably at this point just getting underplated as the top side cools to really solidify it, unless like an upwelling just punctures it and opens a portal in it again, which could happen. Like it definitely happens again over here and here, but it looks like as we go, this actually gets more and more to a point where now it's just forming little chunks within here stably at like certain resonances where like the inlet bounces off of this thing at different angles probably and just ends up producing specific locations where mounds are more able to form within the currents, and then they just form and sit there and be mounds in the currents. really totally closing off the opening as the current just overplates enough to not be visible anymore. Wells from the side. Current going, current going, current going. These blocks are probably getting bigger even. Like it starts off smaller. It probably is just getting physically bigger. As it kind of cools. Has some center of cooling happening. Okay then. Very cool. Very cool, guys. Awesome video. Awesome video. Alright, I'll be back. Actually, let's check this out. Since it's thermal. Normal speed. Whoa. That's crazy. Like, I wonder how much of it was actually like straight up heat currents and not lava in that last video. Like, there were aspects of it where it's more how the heat was flowing. Oh, that mound. Yin yang. It even looks like it right there. Whoa. Maybe here. Like another half of it. Oh, this is so cool. Ooh. Heat really getting in there. Whoa. Oh, hot spot there. That right there, like what? Here we go, here we go. There's whatever that is. Whoa. Makes me think of some kind of Hindu scripture symbol. Something. Hindu symbols. I don't want to say the Om symbol. Let's go back. It's really doesn't have it. More so just that it has that little feature. Made me think of it. Although maybe what we're looking at is more like not the whole of it, but like this part of it. And then there's some sort of like this going on. Up here? That would be interesting. Let's see if we can find that yin yang by itself. Look at that thing. Whoa. Right there. Here, it goes across here, up to here-ish. But this is like the tied to it energetically as some like mass in the void equivalent. And this side doesn't seem to have that so much. Like it's the void and the mass. Like, where is it? Oh, it's a mass. This one has a mass in the void though, so it's like more thing. Maybe. Okay. With those things said, I'll stop this video now. Thinking if I want to merge these on my editing software and make this one video. I'll probably do that. Alright then. Peace out. See y'all soon.